they were having officer elections the first day. And I was just like, I'm 12. Everyone in this room is at least 2 feet taller than me. And so then 5 or 6 people ran, and there are 3 positions available, I believe, maybe 4. And I ran as a 12-year-old.
This is Journey to Point B, where you can find success stories of people who have achieved the same goals you're striving for. I'm your host, Lucia Chomo, and it's my hope that these stories will provide motivation for your own journey to Point B. Let's begin. She's 19 and she's already held 30 leadership positions. But my guest today, Ramya Nambala, did so much more. At 16, Ramya wrote a best-selling book on Amazon about American high schools. At 17, she started Hive Finance, and she made a game-like financial literacy app. She represented 40,000 students in Leander ISD and helped change the GPA system. She's currently the chair for Austin ISD Advisory Committee, representing over 74,000 students. And she's the CEO of Athena EdTech, creating AI tutors for students up to 12th grade. Our discussion today is packed with wisdom and fresh perspectives on how to be a leader and how to land a leadership position. And I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Hi, Ramya. It's very great to have you here on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Really excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, me too. Ramya, you became a leader at a very young age, and a lot of people from my audience have the same vision for their life. Can you tell us a little bit about your achievement and the path you took to reach it?
Most definitely. So currently in leadership, some of my achievements include I'm currently a startup CEO where we're trying to build AI tutors. I, at 16, wrote this book called What's Wrong with American High School by an American high schooler that became on the Amazon bestselling list. And I, in my high school senior and junior year, led my school district superintendent student advisory council. So that's the school district's leadership team. And so I was the leader of that, representing more than 60,000 students total, and successfully advocated for a change in the GPA system and collaborated with our high school superintendent, and just was able to create community level change, and I hope to continue that work.
That's impressive. So Ramya, tell us about your leadership journey. Like, how did you start? What did you do? Where are you now?
Definitely. I can't wait to talk about this. So I think the biggest misconception of anything is that we have natural abilities. And I think one of the biggest myths out there is that there is such thing as a natural leader. Starting in, I think, junior year of high school, I started having more occurrences of people calling me a natural leader. What they didn't realize, however, is that if you rewind it 8 years ago, everyone had the same level of leadership. And really what it came down to is who put themselves in a position where they could be uncomfortable, where they could fail as a leader. And so let me take you back to when I was in middle school. So in middle school, I thought I knew what it meant to be a leader more than I think I do now. And so very much the Dunning-Kruger effect, where when you're a beginner, you think you know everything, right? And then intermediate, you're like, oh, I don't know everything. And then expert level, the hypothesis is you realize you know nothing because there's so much to know about it. And I'm somewhere, I think, in that intermediate level right now. And when I was younger, I thought I knew what it meant to be a leader. And whenever teachers used to ask me, I had a very academic, well thought out answer. A leader is someone who steps up. And that's true, but it's much easier to say that than do that. And so I thought I knew what it meant to be a leader. And I was honestly really, really excited to possibly be a leader. And one of the barriers that I felt when I was a little younger is that I grew up in the Bay Area, and a lot of people around me, um, even if we lived in a time where there's greater gender equality, typically there is more of a masculine figure that we associate with leadership. And so, to be honest, from a very young age, I was acutely aware of it. And so that's something I had to grapple with then, and something that over time I've been able to resolve in some senses. And so to go back to my attempts to be a leader, I was the head spirit leader in middle school of my middle school dance team. And I thought, oh, I have everything figured out. And during that summer camp where we had dance summer camp, we talked about leadership and theory. And all the teachers were impressed by what I said. They were like, wow, you are a very thought out, thoughtful 12-year-old. And I was like, thank you very much. This must mean I'm a good leader. Well, fast forward to 8th grade, and I can tell you, I feel like I was the worst spirit leader that the team had ever had. And there were several reasons for this. The first was, at the time, I didn't really understand the importance of managing yourself. And what that means is essentially taking care of yourself, which we all can always do more of. And what I didn't do is get enough sleep. And because of that, I would be more easily, imagine a 13-year-old who is on 5 hours of sleep regularly. Not a good combination. And so I would consistently feel not that great. And that, I think, translated. The second thing was conflict aversion. I had serious conflict aversion. And so when I was younger, I've always been a natural people pleaser. And so whenever there was a conflict and I had to resolve it, I felt like sometimes it was other spirit leaders, even though I was head spirit leader, other spirit leaders would be the ones who really resolved things rather than me trying to smooth things over. And I honestly did not know how to handle conflict at the time. And I wasn't very good at it because I would either try to not have it happen to the max, which can never happen, and is not actually that great. And then the flip side of that is when conflict did happen, I didn't know how to deal with it. And actually, I see this with a lot of pretty much anyone who's starting out as a leader for the first time. It's very easy in arguments or in conflicts to get a little more aggressive, and you don't realize it at the time. But then you realize that the person you're talking to has shut down, or they think that you're angry, and you don't necessarily feel that way, but you just didn't build that communication skill yet. And so there's a lot of rough patches, to be honest. And it's very, very important that when you're starting out as a leader, that you have the mindset that you are not going to be that great at first, because there's going to be so many things you just don't know. You have some strengths and some weaknesses that might translate into your leadership, but what might be your weakness when you start out could become your strength later on. And so I can definitely say that when I was younger, I struggled a lot as a leader. And actually, to bring it to election time in 8th grade as well, something I was really excited about was the National Junior Honor Society election. And I really wanted to be president because I loved service, and I regularly volunteered with this nonprofit called Generation Serve, and NJHS, I believe. It had a lot to do with service, volunteer hours, and I just thought, wow, this is perfect. This is something I really love, like leadership and like talking and working with your community and your school, and also service. And I thought, I'm very qualified for this. And so I created a whole I think the time limit for the videos you could post to try to get elected were 4 minutes. I think I went slightly over that. But I created this whole well-organized presentation. Turns out, in retrospect, most people didn't read it. So be smart about these things. Just because you think, oh, this shows me that, this shows them that I really care, I'm trying hard, that I'm organized. That's not always how other people want to interpret it. And you want to make it as easy as possible in an election for the other person to vote for you. And so the person who ended up winning the presidency was actually the basketball captain who had 2 slides, like in as, the why elect me. And to be honest, most people probably didn't even look at that in the Google Classroom. They probably just looked at the names and directly chose. And so I think a misperception just in elections in general, or just let's say you're in a corporate job and you want to get promoted, a misconception is, just because you're qualified, you'll get it. Unfortunately, that's not always the case when it comes to leadership. And then the other thing is what we actually call persuasion. It took me a long time to understand this because I was really sad and also more than a little annoyed at the fact that the basketball captain had won that election. And at the time I was like, no, this doesn't make sense. I made a whole 4-minute video. And so something for people who want to be leaders to know is that persuasion is more important than persuasion when it comes to leadership. So persuasion is things you do outside of that election, things you do that people know of other than that. And so persuasion is actually what ended up winning me a lot of elections later on, which we can talk about. But persuasion is people's assessment of who you are, your character, whether they think they like you or not, and whether they want to vote for you. And so persuasion will persuade people a lot more than persuasion. And so if you've ever thought, but I gave such an amazing speech, well, does this person have good interactions with you on a day-to-day? Do they even see you? Do they even know you? Who is it that's more well-known? It's things like that that really can play a huge part in elections. And so in terms of just elections, that's something I had to learn over time. But leadership and also running for office in any form or running for leadership, it's a skill because there's just so many things you don't know at first. And one of the scenarios that I really like to point to is during my freshman year of high school. I was running for a position in Key Club, and Key Club was another service organization club where, you do volunteering hours and all of that. And so you could run for as many leadership positions as you wanted to. And at the time, I was like, okay, well, if, we can run as many times as you want to, well, then why wouldn't I run every single time? Turns out I was the only person who thought that. Essentially, what ended up happening is as soon as the first leadership position I was eligible for, I ran for, I believe it was vice president or secretary, I lost the next time. And so let me picturize this and the setup of exactly what this looked like right now. We were in a lecture hall and there are a lot of desks, and you just stood up in right next to whatever desk you're sitting on or whatever chair you're sitting on and presented to the entire room. And these elections went quick. The speech was maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes max. And so, all right, first vice president or secretary, let's give your speeches. And so me and a couple of other people presented, and the other person was elected. And they're like, okay, now next position, treasurer. Me and like 2 other people ran. I lost. Next, they announced the next title. I don't remember quite what it was, maybe membership manager, something like that. Me and another person ran. I lost. They announced the next title. I once again stood up, gave my speech, except this time I said, hey, everyone, you know me by now. Here's why you should vote for me. I made it shorter than the others. Ran against the other person who ran for the first time this entire time. They won. I love this. I won one last time. I ran against 1 or 2 more people. I lost. That was so funny. At the moment, like I didn't actually feel that bad because when these things happen, I laugh a lot because it's not a reflection of you if you're not elected. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of young leaders, especially in high school, since everyone is so susceptible to feeling judged by their peers and whatever their peers think of them is true, sometimes people would come up to me and say, oh gosh, I ran for this election and lost. People just don't see me as a leader. This is so hard. And I have lost more elections than they have. I can tell you that for sure.
In one day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is not, a one-off occurrence. There's definitely been many other scenarios in which I run. And honestly, right now I'm talking about scenarios in which I've lost, but actually I've gotten lucky sometimes. So for example, when I was in middle school still, there's this Brushy Creek Teen Library Council or something along those lines, or county council. And I was 12 years old at the time. It was for teens, but again, I got lucky in that my mom saw this and she was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And they were having officer elections the first day. And I was just like, I'm 12. Everyone in this room is at least 2 feet taller than me. And so then 5 or 6 people ran, and there were 3 positions available, I believe, maybe 4. And I ran as a 12-year-old. And I also was very straight up about my age in my speech. However, because I like public speaking so much, and again, because I practiced it so much, it's all about the volume, I found that miraculously I was elected. I was shocked because I honestly was fully prepared to not be elected. So again, I've had many experiences of, failing a lot, but I've also gotten lucky. And the truth is, you just never know when you get lucky. And oftentimes it happens after you failed a lot. And so you have to take chances on yourself, even when you think that it's not going to work. And I know we're using somewhat of a siloed example, which is, middle school and high school running for some election, but this is true for many things in life as well. And leadership and many other things, it's just a muscle of continuously running. And so out of everyone in my high school, I was most definitely the person who was known as kind of, the leader of like many organizations or clubs on campus, or just someone who was thought of as a leader. But that came after 6-7 years, because luckily, again, I did get lucky in that I went to the middle school in which a lot of people went to my middle school and high school. And so people knew me. However, in middle school, there's absolutely no data that I would have even a chance at being a leader in the future. And so fast forward to the future, I was president of speech and debate, president of this nonprofit's teen board, teen advisory board, Generation Serve, president of National Honor Society. So this time I won here.
You went a level up.
Thank you. Exactly.
You skipped the junior.
Exactly. I was like, you know what? I think that was the moment I finally got over the NJHS. Because I was like, yo, this doesn't matter. Now I'm NHS president. And I realize in retrospect, if you just keep trying, you realize how little your earlier failures matter, because this time the basketball captain didn't even run. So, other people ran for sure, but a lot of this is just self-selection and who decides to keep going at whatever path they choose. And so that's really important. And so a lot of people would, always ask me then, and even now, they're like, you're just a natural leader, or you have so much experience, or not even experience. They never say experience, talent, skills. That's what people say. But you have to realize that comes from just a lot of experience, putting yourself out there, and then actually doing the work, which is, being a good leader. And as long as you continuously try to improve, you will be better. Something we don't think about too much is the permissionless form of leadership. And that means things such as being a self-starter. So Lucia, starting your podcast, that is permissionless leadership. No one can take that away from you. You created this. That's so beautiful. And so that's something, of course. And I just started discovering that when I, on a whim, honestly, I wrote this book called What's Wrong with American High School by an American high schooler, because it was a pandemic. I was in my junior year of high school, and I just really had thoughts that I needed to share with the world. And I didn't want it to be a blog post. I really wanted it to be a book. And it sounded crazy to me at the time, but I was like, I'm just going to do it. And so I did. And after that, I discovered permissionless leadership. which is so freeing because when I was younger, I used to really be tied up with, will people even elect me to this position? But what's great about permissionless leadership is that you can just do it. So with my book, with startups, you can start your own startup and no one's stopping you. And so it's really great to understand that once you realize that, everything becomes easier and you start realizing that there are many more opportunities out there than you might have originally thought. So when I was younger, I used to only think of leadership as leadership in your communities, being elected. And that is one form of leadership, but there are many, many more forms of leadership, and especially permissionless leadership. Those are the entrepreneurs and the real people who create a lot of change because they're carving out their own niche. And I think it's so incredible. And so I found that permissionless leadership is probably my favorite thing. And I'm really looking forward to where, the businesses go, and also working on a nonprofit right now in education. And it's so freeing because you can just do work on leadership. And then actually someone saw my management skills as someone who is an incoming sophomore in college, an adult. And they asked me, okay, how did you get this skill? And the answer is I literally have 8 years of experience. So it doesn't matter what your age is, whether you're older or younger, you just have to start, because when you start, no matter what your circumstance is, it's not going to be good and people will laugh at you. I'm telling you, people laughed at me and people still laugh at me a lot less. You just have to push through, not pay attention to what other people say.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true leadership and freedom, when you realize it's something you can do without being elected.
Yeah, and without asking permission. So, Ramya, it's been a pleasure just to hear your story. And there are a few things that stood out to me. Well, first, I heard a new term, the persuasion.
Yeah.
So I believe that, yes, that is so important. I didn't know there is a term for it. It's the relationships that you build, the community that you build before you're even ready to start an idea. And I think it's so important, even in a company. If you're trying to start a new project, it's good to have that buy-in, to have those relationships built, that when you are releasing it, people are supporting you. And the common thing that I see in your journey, as you were sharing, you mentioned luck a few times, but I feel like luck for you was also this constant trying and not giving up. And sometimes you won, sometimes you learned, but you were always in the game. And now you're already a leader of a company, an AI company. And now it's the coolest things that you can do these days. What would you say was your biggest barrier, and how did you go about it?
My biggest barrier was not being able to understand how different your future is from your present. And so at the time, I was very tied to my past identities. A huge shift that I've experienced now is realizing that we, even as we are older, are in some ways still blank slates, in that we can be rewired. And so just because I like kettle corn today doesn't mean I'll like it tomorrow if I'm able to create a negative association with it. Don't tie yourself down to your present self. Realize that trying and failing and learning is key, and that the future will be a lot more different than you actually thought it would be. And so don't ever tie yourself down to your current self, and realize you can always change for the better.
That's beautiful. So, Ramya, what is one goal that you're pursuing these days?
So one goal one overarching goal that I'm starting soon is I have this challenge to become an impact billionaire in 10 years. And what that means is not net worth billionaire. Impact billionaire means I just want to impact 1 billion people in a meaningful and positive way. And so that's a challenge for me. And currently I'm pursuing and looking deeper into learning more about AI and trying to make an impact in the education space along with AI. And so, yeah, hopefully just positively impact people.
That's wonderful. I was thinking I need to get it on your calendar now for a few years from now, because then it's going to be hard to get you on a podcast.
I would be happy always to, even years from now, hop on this podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ramya. If anyone from the audience would like to get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
LinkedIn. Please reach out to me, Ramya Nambala on LinkedIn. And yeah, just connect with me and add me a note saying hi. And I try to actually, something I wasn't comfortable with when I was younger was hopping on Zoom with like a random stranger or going on coffee chats. Now I do it all the time because, you know, you want to meet more people, see what they're doing and learn. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't lead to anything, but 1 times out of 10, it does. And so kind of increasing the surface area of luck and meeting cool people. So I'd love to hop on a call with anyone who'd like to discuss anything really. And yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn for any partnerships too. That's the place.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for inspiring us today, Ramya. I really honor this time that we had together and the lessons that you taught us. Just hearing you share your experience, I feel like the future looks so bright with leaders like you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.